right. Welcome. How's everyone doing? Let's do a brief sound check. Can everyone hear me? Okay. Sometimes when I trance, I get a little, my voice goes lower. So if I need to turn it up, go ahead and tell me now. How is everyone's day going? We just opened a huge portal and she's been talking a good bit, my spirit guide, about a few different things with the differences in this unique intensity. There's so much intensity in the downloads coming through today. Um, and there's a bit of a theme here. Okay. So I'll go ahead and go into trance here in a minute. We're going to be continuing like how to manage some of these energies over on my Patreon channel throughout the course of the month. And that's pinned above. If you like my work, you can feel free to go there and have access to just hundreds and hundreds of things. But there are three particular themes that she wanted to talk about. And one of them was global and personal resets and global and personal shifts of power. That's one of the things that will probably come through. It's like some people stepping down, and in the instance of two of those global resets and power shifts, that the two people stepping down, whoever steps up will be definitely better, according to what she predicts here. Insofar as personal power shifts, though, that seems to be more of what power dynamics are shifting right now in your life, and how are you um, attributing that in your unique dynamic, you know, in your jobs and your families, stuff like that. Because there's an intensity, there's an amp up in the intensity of these personal dynamics of power shifts right now. And people are starting to question for the first time, am I in my power? Am I giving my power away? Those are the kind of things that she and I have been spending some time discussing this morning. How or why am I giving my power away, and to whom? That is exhausting to do that. And she says that all of us are experiencing being in this in time feeling and outside of time at the same time, like observing your life fall together and then fall apart and fall together and then fall apart, in relation to power dynamics. And the intensity of that is beyond anything that I've ever seen. And even people who are fairly grounded in their lives are experiencing it. No one's getting out of this one, she says. The second theme that she and I have been talking about today are releasing judgments. We have this judgment, these assumptions. We don't call it judgments, she says, when we're sitting here in our lives. We're making assumptions of how something's going to be and what something's going to look like in the future. And is it going to be like what we think it's going to be? And we have to release assumptions. We have to release judgments of what we think is going to pull us out of our power, because there's fear involved in making a judgment whenever you think it's going to shift your personal or professional power dynamic. So we have to kind of, as overall, this overlying what is true question that we're asking ourselves, we have to ask ourselves, where have our perceptions, assumptions, and judgments, where and when have our perceptions, assumptions, and judgments have not been true? Where have they not been true? Right? Because we make a lot of assumptions of, if we have global resets and personal shifts of power. If we feel less in power, what have we made that mean? And how can we let go of our perceptions and assumptions and judgments of what we make certain things mean? That's been a big one for the past few days as we're building up to this unique portal. Um, so she says that a lot of times we make assumptions, perceptions, and judgments that are false because we want to keep ourselves safe. And how can we learn what is true instead? That's another big question that she wants us to ask ourselves. And then the final theme that has been coming up today at the beginning of this massive portal is courage. Having courage to stay in your power and attach no meaning to your fears, attach no particular meaning, because when she says when you place meaning on something, um, you're being afraid. Even if you're placing positive meaning on it, you could possibly end up being afraid. And being in fear is not an option right now. In this particular portal, being in fear is just it's not going to be an option. It's like something will come in energetically and shove us out of that rut, that groove. The record will jump the groove, and life changes are being made, kind of whether we like it or not, like the needles being pushed out of the groove. So she told me this morning about courage. She said, allow courage and bravery to come through us and to show up. Allow your power to show up respectfully towards all people, and allow that courage to shift your energies into where you need to be in your lives, whether you feel it's going to be safe for you or not. So bypassing safety in lieu of truth is one of the bigger themes that's coming through, instead of just trying to stay safe all the time, right? So anyway, I'm going to go into a trance. I'm going to try to drink a little bit of juice first, then I'm going to go into a trance. You guys like my cup today? Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I know. Such inner child stuff. Whew, matcha tea. Wonderful. And then once she comes out of the trance, once she wakes me up, then you can go ahead and start putting your questions in the chat, and we'll spend a few minutes kind of going in that direction as well. Okay. Yeah, definitely got to take all that off. Turn off electronics. Yep. Okay. I think electronics are out of the way. Well, that was a little harder than usual. Is it as hard for the rest of you in your bodies right now? I haven't done this in a very long time. This body certainly was younger than mine. I used to hate when people called me D in other lifetimes, but you can call me it now. Just like how this messenger doesn't like to be called Pam, but you can call her it now and she won't blink an eye. Have you noticed that in this unique period of ascension that you could perhaps receive information packets, a wealth of information about yourselves that perhaps you would not have received or even understood in the very near past? Information is flying in so quickly. And how are you processing it? How are you handling the unique intensity of these packets of information being transmitted from the subconscious and not in just this time? It's happening throughout all times. It's happening as if information packets from multiple past lifetimes throughout centuries, hundreds and hundreds of years of past lifetimes, all of that is coming to you in less than 24 hours. How's that working out for you? How's it feeling? It's nothing to be afraid of. Certainly nothing to be afraid of at all. Fear can't play into any of these things. When you allow fear and its many names to get in the way, then you don't ascend. This is probably not what you thought New Earth would be like. That New Earth would still involve billions of people choosing various different levels of consciousness simultaneously. And yet, that's the free will, that's the agency to utilize because we all wanted to be brave. We all wanted to experience time outside of time, to be inside and outside of time at the same time, to master time. We all wanted that. Now that we have it, hopefully it's not a case of be careful what you wished for. This is a unique period of time, and difficult as it stands, you could perhaps choose to look at this as a challenge, as an opportunity to grow more deeply into these patterns of karma. Karma is new now. I've been building you up to this eventual place where you would land for multiple years in these transmissions with this channel. And now that you're here, now that you're only responsible for your unique karma, what does it feel like? You can only have a reflection of yourself bounce back in your direction. You are so powerful now individually that you can be only responsible for what you're thinking, what you're feeling, what you're saying and what you are doing. We can no longer blame anyone else for our unique personal choices. How does the karma feel? I'm here to talk to you about it. I'm here to listen to perhaps how you're feeling about it. This is the most powerfully unique time in human history, but it's difficult, isn't it? It's treacherous at times, even. I won't try to make this pretty for you, and yet I want to be there for you, and I want you to talk to me about it. I'm more of a teacher and not a listener, but I'd like to teach you how to listen to your own body's needs. You can certainly do it a lot better than I did, but remember, I never got a cold, I never got sick. Ascensionist symptoms didn't affect me no matter what food I was putting in my body. And you can be the same. We can't blame food anymore at this point. You are experiencing not just a global reset, but a personal dynamic reset as well. All of these things are changing. And here I am telling you, you're responsible for your unique karma. And only you. It's different this time. And the intensity of the energy waves are amplifying between now and November the 11th. It always happens. Every point in time, the portal opens and then closes. But what's different this time is that you are finally able to see your unique individual energy patterns and to see how it affects others and then comes back to you like a boomerang. And then when it comes back, it intensifies, amplifies. And the only thing to shift the power dynamic is to be brave, to be courageous, to stand in the truth consciousness. Truth consciousness is something that's been accessible for a while, but nobody really wanted to go through it. And the only way out is through. Some will debate that and say the only way out is through your emotions. But at this point in time, the only truth in such consciousness is when what's true for you is also true for all, and when what's true for all is also true for you. That's the real definition of truth consciousness. When it becomes true for you and another being, then you can recognize that it doesn't just serve you, it serves everyone. And everyone also serves everyone else around them. That's what's new. And New Earth is shifting dramatically day by day. It's a new forum of energy potential. And I've been watching it from afar for quite some time. I've been watching you deny it, run from it, become too self serving, and then become too giving. But now is the unique time as you experience further global resets to not be afraid. As Earth shifts, you can experience New Earth from a field of consciousness where you get to see what it looks like to form free agency choices for yourself and for others, to serve Earth and your unique needs at the same time. No one gets left behind, no one is left out. Earth is coming to a bit of a culmination point, and it's been brewing the new Earth energies. But now, did you know that there are 11 different potentials? When I was around, there was one, and then that built to around three. Perhaps around my passing, we were still at three, and now we are at 11 different potentials. Some of you are in one, some of you are in another. Some of you think you haven't shifted at all, but every single person is a part of this experiment. Even if you feel like you're just a backdrop, you are being called to stand out from the backdrop role and to put yourself right in the forefront. If you were a forefront person, perhaps you're being told to calm down and support someone else. All of the roles of power are shifting in this way, and you can feel that in yourself. If you become afraid and disgruntled with how that's working in the global resets in your finances and in your governments, well, just blink your eye and the next day you'll see it change again. That's the one constant. And you may ask me, is it going somewhere? It goes somewhere when you individually choose responsibility in your lives to shift your personal power dynamics. And then you will notice that the governments aren't shortly behind. And that's okay that they aren't, because they will be. It takes a long time for the systems of a land to catch up with the energy output that you are collectively choosing. It takes a long time to see these old structures fall. But you will have three unique revelations: two people stepping down from global power, and only one person stepping up, and that's in the US alone. In the UK, three people stepping down, one person stepping up, one person stepping down again. And then why? Why does only one person step up when in that position we should have at least three people doing the job? That's an interesting thing. Who could possibly take the role then? When you have so many roles in just one job, you need three people to do that kind of work. We had one after the other step down. One, two, three. The fourth one won't work either. Then we have one step down soon, and then another steps up. Even by this time next year, all of that will happen. Every last bit of it, most of which has already occurred. But that final step down and step up may take a little time. The thing is, it's not going to be about that anymore. So many people are watching the global resets in governmental power. But are you watching your own resets of power? Are you noticing that you're giving too much responsibility to other people in your lives for roles that you could be playing? In your businesses, everything has shifted since COVID. And you're starting to see how difficult it is in one sense of what you got used to when you were relying upon social media for all these years to market your small businesses. And now that's shifting where word of mouth is becoming the new tool. And that's what's working in the new earth. Word of mouth referrals. All of that was always best in my time as well. Businesses are shifting, especially small businesses. This is a part of the new earth reset. There is so much that's shifting that by the time you learn new ways to operate in your relationships, new ways to market a small business, new ways to run a government of 9 billion people, that's happening too. By the time you learn all of that, then you notice that the business or your body or your relationships or 9 billion people change. And then all of the governing systems need to shift as that body changes, do you see? Whether that be an individual body or a relationship with two people or a governmental or politicians roll over an entire land. And sometimes you want to throw up your hands and say, well, why? Why should I do anything then if it's always changing? But you, as a mind body spirit construct, are always changing. You want more potential, you get used to it, and you want more. And that's the nature of power. You must have courage and bravery to embrace your power and to see how big it can actually expand. And it can do so. It can do so in a way that feels, I won't say safe, but manageable if you get to know your power, if you're quiet enough to get to know the subconscious and to let it talk to you. Then, as you are transcending and ascending during this unique portal of consciousness, your own consciousness will arise and shift and move along with the tides. And as high tide comes in and the waves swell in this portal, you'll go along with it. Your soul will expand right along with it. This is what we want. We want you to open to expansion. You see? We're not saying don't be afraid. We want you to manage your own fear. Are you ready for that change? Or are you wanting to let fear take over? If you want a difference in the governments as you see them start to rise and then fall again this year, and it'll seem like that, a big rise and then a big fall, and then a small rise and a small fall. It's like how high tide gets lower. And then before you know it, everything is receding back into the ocean again, back where it came from. And then the people on the lands come out and want to swim and bask in the sun. That's what's going on in this unique time. The people begin to take over themselves, their relationships, manage themselves. Instead of saying, well, I want to be uniquely abundant before I can do anything, you're becoming abundant in your power now and creating your own wealth for yourselves. You're learning to master your bodies and to govern your own lands, and that's where all of this is going. It's not something that you probably want to believe. You maybe don't believe us, but we assure you, this is where it's been going all along, for the power to land with the people. That's where we want it to be because that's where it has always been. We love you. We're going to let this channel go now. I wasn't always good about saying that when I had a body, so I'll say it now. We love you. And we'll wake up the channel now and we'll keep talking when she's awake. Okay. All right. Let me wake up just a bit. I want to go into questions. Um, and we welcome your questions. I'm going to do some conscious channeling now. It feels like there's so much energy around my head right now that it's running through my hair. Women, do you do this? Men too? Do you sometimes just pull out the energy from your hair and just go whoosh? Right? It is exciting. Let's just do conscious channeling now. I've got her right here. So what this looks like, this type of channeling is when they're there and you can hear the voice, and the medium just repeats back what she says. She likes to call that just communicating and listening and communicating. Um, so we'll see what questions you have. First question, tectonic plate shift. When is it going to happen? She says that's already happening. We have some shifting in the West Coast coming up by mid-November, and then another shift at the end of November, and then an early shift at the end of no, not the end, Pamela, she says, middle of January by the 11th of next year. And then we have some shifts in Brazil, and then we have some shifts in the East Coast by the end of 2023 around this time. All of the Earth shifts are happening, she says, at the portals of November the 1st to November the 11th, and then she says January the 1st through January the 11th. And that'll be small shifts. These aren't big things that need to concern you. They aren't knocking over cities and resetting things in that way. The water damages are worse than the earthquakes right now for the next few years. She says, mm, this is unusual, but she says she sees, as unusual as it is, she sees some problems in Costa Rica around April April of next year. So Costa Rica needs to watch out for some water disruptions there. Puerto Rico continues to build. Not too many negative things we need to. The hardest thing has already happened there, and you won't have another problem until uh, 2028 on that for that area of the world. And then the bigger shifts for the tectonic plate shifting of Earth, she says, happens beginning in 3 parts, once in 2028, and then once in the mid-year of 2029, and then once in the very beginning of January in 2030. So these are the bigger shifts, okay? Oh, are we having an audio problem? Huh. I think I checked my internet before we started, and it seems really good. Next question. What is relevant now about sacred commerce? Let's see. She says small businesses are stepping up more so than they have ever before, but the old way of having to pay for ads for things, in social media, she always gets so mad at me because I'm in the old way with trying to market my Facebook, and she says, "Don't spend money on Facebook ads. That's not where it's at anymore." And I just get to hear that voice behind me, like, and I hear it right now. She's going, "Hmm. Yes, it's not where it's at anymore. That was pre-COVID. Post-COVID shifts in business," she says, are going towards more word of mouth. She says post-COVID shifts are going towards more in-person work for sacred commerce. And there will be a blend of online and in person, be real 50-50 for most people. People will step outside and be working more hands on and serving each other more than ever before. Um, so that's going to get really big again, particularly this year and next year. People are going to start paying each other. She said, I can't possibly understand how people could pay each other with cryptocurrency, but that's going to get even further. And that money, that shift in cryptocurrency, she says, I don't know a lot about it, but I know it's going to get better next year. And you're going to be paying each other in unique currencies that aren't, your standard governmental currency, she says. So those are some ways that we shift it. And a lot of the old mask wearing and the big, things when you go into restaurants, all of that, um, the big plastic, what do you call that? Stuff that's everywhere in front of you when you go to a booth at a restaurant, all that's gone. By the end of next year, people start ripping all that down and not wanting to do that anymore, and, um, and occasionally you'll be asked to wear a mask in hospitals and doctors' office off and on by them, but everywhere else will have that stripped out of the way. New Earth can't hold that dense frequency of fear when you get sick anymore. She says, "I can't possibly perceive how everyone is so afraid of it." And she said, "At the same time, fear is so powerful, and you got a chance to see how big your fear could be and how powerful you could make it." Geez, it doesn't even matter if I'm trancing anymore. She just steps on in. I wanna listen, but then she just takes over anyway. So, then it's like I'm trancing with my eyes open. Let's see. Is Elon Musk an energy for good or bad? She said, if I knew him back in my time, I would tell him to step up and put his money where his mouth is. And he would give me a good old laugh and maybe ask me to share a cookie. Who knows?" She said, "Why don't you go into the new earth consciousness? And as opposed to making an assumption or a judgment that's either good or bad, will you look at what could he do for us? What could he do for us? What is it? What could he do for us? And what are his intentions?" What I see about him is that he knows his intentions 100% of the time, but only during a moment when he feels connected deeply to his power. And then he gives his power whenever he's afraid for his family. Just like the rest of us, he gives his power when he's afraid of how it will affect his children. He segregates just like anyone else would. And yet, he's learning how to place his power properly. He did just by Twitter. There's going to be some shifts there. So much free speech coming there. So why give so much power over whether or not you believe that one individual who holds more power that you believe, or at least you think that he does, than you would go? He's being very smart. He stands on one side of the fence and eats the grass, and then he goes to the other pasture that's not much greener, but eats the grass there. He goes and talks to the shepherds of the field, makes friends with everyone, and he's sizing everything up. So, this isn't necessarily about whether you believe one person who holds more power and money than you is good or bad. What will you do locally? Where will you shift your power independently in your local stance, in your local politics, and your local small businesses, in your local co-ops, in your local healing centers? I couldn't imagine a time that there would be so many healing centers. Sacred commerce is shifting. So let's look more at what we can do to release our assumptions and perceptions about what's true and what isn't, and who holds power and who doesn't. Let's step more into this personal shift. You are individually having a reset, and the global reset is just a sign of that. And by 2030 into early 2031, we'll have such a reset that everyone will be on the same page and no one will even care about what Elon Musk is doing, right? Many of you are smart enough to know this. I know that about you. Will YouTube allow free speech? She said, "Well, do cows fly over moons? Perhaps in other galactic environments, but not here." 7 years, no. Strangely enough, so many people that are listening here are also listening and beginning their own channels. This in 7 years won't be the primary place to be. To it won't be the primary platform, and in 11 years from now, you'll be looking at this like it was what was the thing you had before Facebook? Like it was that. Um, and the guy's face was always there. What was his name? Tom. MySpace. That is what it is that Pamela told me about. It'll be like that. It'll be such a small little speck in the galaxy of stars. Um, someone just said Elon Musk would have to buy YouTube, and she said, "Well, if he lives that long," she said, "The Galactic Council doesn't hold much potential to see past 10 years, but we can say that he is often under great threat, and he does need to be cautious." Yeah. I'd like to see some questions. I'm seeing a lot of chit chat, but I'd like to see a little bit more questions. We have about 10 or 15, maybe 20 more minutes left. I think we already commented about portions of Africa and shifts in another channeling. What is the most um, what spiritual practice is most important at this time? She said, "What's most important now is to find your own way to be in contact in all moments with your soul, with the higher self, and to find quicker, more practical, more modern, effective ways to not just tap in when you want to tap in and then live your lives differently thereafter, but to connect to the subconscious and stay connected no matter what process you do, no matter how you do it. If you want to use my work, that's beautiful. But if you want to do that a different way, then you do, and then you shall. My work changes and has changed, and you change too. So when you stay connected to your higher self after facilitating a process and after being the client in a process, or if you're doing it for yourselves, that's a new direction where this work is going with the subconscious, is to be able to connect to it for yourselves, and then to continue that energy field at your job and with your spouse and with your children and in your household, in your daily waking moments. Sansar, she wants you to ask that differently. She wants you to know how you wished for her to expand on it, because she felt she was pretty clear. Food shortage, she says, is already happening. To answer your question, you're seeing more and more of concerns getting certain things, particularly in rural environments. She says that's going to worsen by early next year. Next year will be a difficult time, and this is giving you the potential to learn how to grow food, to learn to work with your local co ops, to learn to prep, and to learn to store. Um, Can she speak more about a personal reset? She says, again, there's a shift in power dynamics when you're starting to release all personal assumptions and of giving other people power for what you think, how you feel, and how you live. When you believe that your power, your happiness, Your success, your abundance, your health relies upon anyone else other than yourself, then that's a problem. That's a deep problem, and that's shifting. It's shifting so much to the point that you're amping up your fears purposely in your lives. And then you're saying, wait, you catch yourself and you say, wait, I don't have to do that. I don't have to feel that way. I am not incomplete without someone else supporting me, loving me, or showing me my own power. It's my responsibility in this reset to courageously hold my power, project my truth, manage my body, manage what I eat, manage how I feel, and manage my own means of financial independence. That's an amp up in your power. And when you begin to admit where your perceptions, assumptions, and fear and judgments have been inaccurate, then you start to say, well, if that was wrong, what is true? And when you start to ask yourself what is true, you begin that personal ascension shift. You begin to fully utilize the 1111 portal for what it has always meant to be for you. You're finally utilizing, and I wish that it had happened when I was in form, but now it's here. And meanwhile, you guys are still wondering about food. All of you are still wondering about food and governments and things. And what's more important is, where is your personal power dynamic right now? Are you asking about that right now? Are you hearing me? Because when you shift that personal power dynamic, you're not worried about anything that's to come. You will have no further questions. Your health will reflect that. Your happiness will reflect that. Your abundance will reflect that. Your relationships will reflect that because they become healthy and interdependent. This is the central personal power shift. And all of the global shifts and earth shifts that are happening, this is the biggest new earth update, is that your lens begin to break apart literally until you stop breaking yourselves apart inside. True? Someone in chat is asking, and they're listing somebody I don't know to be a resource for ascension. And she says, you are your resource for ascension. You are your resource for ascension. I don't know who you're talking about. Pamela doesn't know who you're talking about. You are your resource and power source for truth, for wisdom, for knowledge. Your higher self, when you recognize that that's the source, everything else will become so apparent if you're ready for the shift. We still have a good 50% of you that aren't, that are just waiting on me to tell you something about someone else that's not you. But you hold that key to this shift in ascension. You hold that key to everything. You're not blocked. None of that's true. Yeah. It's happening on 11/11. She said that's the one of the bigger global resets. Right when you get calmed down and right when you're preparing for a holiday, the US government will frighten you with yet another potential of war. There are more global power shifts in your governments coming. And if you become afraid and frantic, you'll go into the biggest depression that you have experienced on this planet. Bigger than what my parents went through. But you probably won't. What's new about that is you will say, oh, more false news. Nothing unusual. La di da, going about my way. That's what many of you will do. The rest of you will become afraid, shut your doors, start stocking your food, fly all the toilet paper off the shelves again, right? I want you to show me differently, but it's still really 50-50. Oh boy. Will we have an emergency broadcast system warning? She said, no, not by then. Not by then. She said by this time next year, she says, you will have the emergency broadcast system warning. And for less than 24 hours. And she said, it's not because of anything war related. It's not because of anything, well, she says, with direct war, but there is a behind the scenes war that causes countries to be experiencing like a cyber attack, like a cyber attack is the best way that we could put it. Something similar to that will flush out the internet for a short amount of time. And most people will think that it's just their personal internet outage systems. So then the internet companies will be told, oh, just tell everyone it's a personal outage. But it's, you're not dumb, she says. You're not unintelligent beings at all, especially not if it lasts for 24 unique hours. She believes it will. Heidi, she wants you to be much more clear in your question about 11 potentials. She wants to know what you mean. Mm. Oh, wow. Yeah. With your question, Lee, about the banks in South Africa, she said you can expect that again by mid-January around the 11th. There's something for 3 days, 3.5 days. It'll be up by the 4th. By the end of that fourth 24-hour period, it'll come back up again. And she says it's a complete frantic thing, for people in South Africa at that time. And there's an interesting currency reset where an old currency in Africa begins to get more power around that time. And then some ships and diplomatic power that are positive, not negative, for South Africa. Yeah. Well, Loki, this is free too. Some people are out here saying, well, I do this on my Telegram channel for free. And she's like, yeah, we're right here for free. Mm. Natalie and all for to answer that question about being blocked, she said, please stop saying that. What would happen if you would eliminate the word block from your vocabulary? Estelle, no. She says no, he won't. That won't be coming anytime soon. Yep, that's not what she's seeing. She's not seeing Trump go down. Um, she's not seeing an arrest for him. None of that is what she's seeing. And she says you've got your power shift in a place that's external again. Your governments are going to a place where the power is with the people, not with the leaders. Music, she said, is shifting to be fairly reliant upon right now newer tools where you can create more digital sound, and that's been the case for a while, but that'll amplify and you'll have a lot more cosmic energy behind music than you ever have before. And then it'll stop and it'll go completely analog where people are, playing instruments and just going back to the old style of recording, right? David King, check out my fan page for answers on that. What she said about that is on my fan page. Shah says, "Is it a good time for us to start a small business?" She said, "It is the best time and the hardest time because post COVID, you have to work harder because you've been taught to be behind the scenes, impersonal, to pay to get yourself seen, to do ads to get yourself seen. You've been taught to beat algorithms, and it's a complete robotic way. And now, what works post COVID in small businesses is that you will have to form very personal relationships with your clients. You will need to be friends with your clients." She said, "It's really not a novel idea. It was lost. It was what worked in my time, and you're going back to it, which you should be thrilled to know because that's a lot less competitive in small business." Contact is still very much behind the scenes, although the veil is all but gone. So contact from extraterrestrials will not come in the same ways, but what will happen is that your governments will be no longer able to hide the many, many, many sightings, and abductions will be completely different in the way that it's working. These visitation experiences will become a lot more clear for the common person, and a lot more people will be talking about their experiences, but you won't have that big spaceship landing at the White House anytime soon. When ships attempt to land in your field, your government still want to blow them up. So what's happening now is that just the common folk are coming out, and that's landing on the news. Just standard people flying around saying, "Look, I saw something and I'm going to put it out there before I get a chance to tell my boss." And then it goes viral. So who? That's a good question. Jote says, "Who in the government is aware of the Galactic Council? The Council of Nine?" Um, that council tends to stay away from all government sources. They will not. They tried to make contact with Musk, and he just blew it off as a spiritual experience. And what I mean by that is, she says he saw something in meditation, and then he saw it again, um, and didn't do that much about it. So, for the most part, the Council of Nine stays away from all government sources, and they don't put ships in our field. Most of the ships in the field are Pleiadians trying to help that are currently in war with Alpha Draconi reptilians. So then that's been a lot of the field has been deeply protected from the Alpha Draconi landings and abductions, and the some of the gray experiences. A lot of you still see the gray ships um, that come around in the atmosphere, and that even those types of visions and experiences are much more limited. There's been a lot of very recent intervention from the Galactic Council to prevent grays, negative alpha draconian experiences with humans. You won't even see them attempting to come into our field anymore, come into the atmosphere anymore. The primary ships that you're seeing at this point, as per this month, are Pleiadian or Lyran Feline, or something from the council attempting to boost the shield to keep the majority of the service to self Draconi away from Earth. Yeah, so that's been a really good shift globally as well, just having the veil lifted so that people are awakening more, but to have a more reflective shield also in place to keep out certain things, because with the lifting of a very thick veil around us, we need also protection. And we've had so much recent protection. coming around us. Yeah. Anki, no. No, there's really no contact with Anki or connection to Anki. Right now, she says people are only talking to and having contact with and experience with their own family. So, we've had a lot of the Alpha Draconi that are in American governments in particular have abduction experiences with the self-service negative reptilian Alpha Draconi beings, which has been interesting. Like that's still being allowed to happen because that is a unique individual karmic interplay that they have with each other. And then we have a lot of Lyran felines, Pleiadians, regular beings on Earth, Lemurians, having contact with Pleiadians, Lemurians, and Lyran feline beings. So you're meeting your star family more. You don't remember it. She says most of the time it goes in your meditation or dream experiences. But some of you are having what you need to understand is not an abduction experience, but a healing experience. There have been implant removals going on during this portal, a lot of implant removals. I'm having a lot of people come to me that are in my one-on-one mentorship saying that they've had and she'll come in and say, yep, that was an implant removal and confirm it. That's been a lot right now. Which I'm happy about. I don't know about you, but I'm really happy about that. You're waving at them. Cosmo Girl said, I'm waving at them. Very good. Yes, you can. You can. She says with that healing diabetes, that it's all a matter of if it's type 2 or not. Type 1 is a lot harder to heal, but with type 2, yes, you can heal it. You can definitely heal it. Yeah. Joe said, I've been having a lot of lucid dreams lately without trying. Is that related to the shift? She said she believes that it is, that a lot of people are beginning to remember their experiences with their galactic team. Yeah, so that's good. Um, with New Earth potentials, right now, the best way to step into New Earth potential is to turn your eyes away from negative news sources. That is the biggest thing. To do your own research, to let yourself go a little bit deeper down the truth rabbit hole, but to also honor your own power and your own truth, and to not place your personal power in anyone else's hands ever again, like personally, professionally, governmentally. Don't worry about those kind of things because right now, so many of you are making very, very personal shifts, but your whole planet is shifting with you. And she says, when your whole planet is shifting with you and your life is shifting and change is happening, that what you need to do is kind of ground, hunker down, call upon your galactic team, talk to the subconscious, stay in contact. Don't just talk and then get up and close the door and go to work. Go into the state of communication for however that looks to you. If it's not somnambulistic, it could be a little more conscious to you. Don't doubt. Doubt is the only block that you have. She says to me a lot that when people come and they say they're blocked, that's the only block, that they actually don't have blocks, that they're having a lot of the negative sort of tracking galactic implants removed from them, and that was really the only physiological block left, except for just saying I'm blocked, right? So she wants you to change your vocabulary because your energy and your words right now in this portal are the biggest way to maximize this portal potential from now until the 11th. And then the next one from January the 1st to January the 11th. That one's coming up after that. But for this one, maximizing, eliminating lower energy words from your vocabulary and thought systems, and only using really power words for you. Freedom words are really good. Any words that are truth consciousness based. Okay, and it's a big deal right now. Okay, guys. I think we're gonna go ahead and close off. Thanks to you for people who were coming in to the earlier trance channeling, and thank you for staying this long in the conscious channeling and letting me field your questions. I like to these days offer both trance channeling and conscious channeling to see which feels best for you. And well, also I have to be able to see your questions, and if I'm asleep, that's hard, you know. So, thank you so much for the channeling. If you like these kind of channelings, please subscribe. I love that. I love when you come back and you can sit with me and we can hear these truthful messages, because truth consciousness is the biggest power word that you can use right now. Truth consciousness. Okay. Everything in truth consciousness. Keep asking, what is my truth, and how is it true for other people? How can I help other people with my truth? Okay. So thank you so, so much. And please like and subscribe to this channel. I'm trying to grow this channel so that I can get more messages, more of her messages and the Galactic Council's messages out for you. Um, and if you're looking for my Patreon membership where I do these channelings a few times a week, you can also go there and it's linked to the top. I don't channel D on Patreon, but everybody else I do. Everybody else. We have tons of other things there. All right. So that one's linked at the top of the chat. And I will see you super, super soon. I love you. Bye.